All right, folks, this video is actually cut from our prior video. It was actually part of the Kirby Direct video, but because I went on so long about this one individual topic, I felt like it was worth making its own video on it. So I actually separated it out. I didn't re-record it because what I said was raw, it was fresh, it was needed, and I stand by it. That said, we are being transparent today about a story that I actually... before this video got published, took the old video down from a week ago because the story is incorrect and I do not like spreading false information. Hopefully you like this bit of conversation and transparency. If you don't like it, don't worry. We have lots of other content to move on to after this, but I am, if nothing other than someone that prides myself in being transparent. If you want to unsubscribe because of this mistake I made, I totally understand. Or if you enjoy me being transparent about this stuff, maybe that makes you want to subscribe. I have no idea. You guys do what you want. We are trying to keep growing around here, but I'm one person and I'm human and I don't know everything and I'm ignorant on many topics. So take it for what it is. Let's get into what was cut from the prior video. We have to add additional context to another story that I covered a little while back. This was covered, back on August 11th. And we talked about a developer, Lynxbyte Gaming or whatever, that was making all these claims about the Nintendo Switch 2. They talked about DLSS. They talked about other stuff in regards to how it is to get dev kits. And it's been an interesting story because it's a foreign company that, I looked into, but I'm going to be honest, it's kind of outside my expertise to understand how these companies function, and it's definitely a company I've never heard about. Maybe I should have been a bit more skeptical because they've now deleted everything. So when we go back here, why is nobody has and how to get one, right? That's what my video was because that's what the company was claiming. Direct Feed Games, who is... Nate the Hate, sorry, I gotta think about that for a second. He said this is inaccurate. I said, thanks. I'd asked for accurate information, but I understand it likely can't be given at this time. Do you think any better knowledge on this, particularly for Switch 2, will ever come forward? And he noted here back on August 12th, so a day later, I somehow missed this, that the article had been deleted. And I was like, wait a second, what do you mean? What do you mean the article had been deleted? And sure enough, here it is. It's deleted. We got a and here we are, and sure enough, it's deleted. This is the same link that's on my video. So the author deleted this Medium story. It is gone. And that's not the only thing that's gone, actually. We showed their website in my video, Lynxbyte Games, and they have removed all mentions of Switch 2 on their website. It's gone. They don't even have it down here. Now it's just Switch 1. It's gone. They removed all their mentions of Switch 2 on their website. So what does this mean? Well, they were likely full of shit. That's essentially what it means. And, this does happen. Companies do lie. This could be a bullshit company. They say they're going to be at Gamescom. They're not on the exhibitor list. Look, we could talk about red flags, but I want to go into a conversation that Nate the Hate was having with somebody else. I don't want to note that he's not necessarily pointing me out in these comments. There's going to be some negative stuff, but I do think it's a good conversation to have because it deals with the exact field I'm into here, and that's covering the news, the rumors, and obviously Kirby Air Riders. So as you scroll down there, we'll just go through the whole comment thread so you guys see the context. 2times Blue says, if you looked at Lynxbyte's LinkedIn profile, and I did look at it, it was clear they didn't know what they were talking about. I don't know how I'm supposed to know that because it would require me to, let me just back up a little bit. I am not a game developer, all right? I do not work at any of these companies. I looked at their LinkedIn profile. I'm not sure what red flags I was supposed to see. I know Super Metal Dave 64 said he saw some red flags, and that's totally fine. But as somebody who's on the outside looking in, I don't really know how I'm supposed to be able to recognize some of these red flags, but that is okay. They definitely did exist, and maybe I should have been a bit more skeptical in my coverage. That being said, he says Superman 64 is the only one I saw pointed out. Most YouTubers and websites just ran the story like it was legit information. Well, I mean, what are we supposed to do? It looks like a real company, right? There were many obvious red flags between their LinkedIn and the website. And again, obvious to Nate the Hate because he has more knowledge than the rest of us. It sucks that the internet and platform incentivizes timelines and engagement over fact-checking or even basic research, which is kind of... I really hate this notion that Some of us don't do basic research. I can't speak for other YouTubers, but I really pride myself in diving deep. I looked at the LinkedIn profiles. I dove into this. I wasn't sure what the red flags were supposed to be. It's something I'm not familiar with. So, again, I guess it's obvious to people who are experts in the field, but then the people who are experts in the field don't tend to be journalists. Like Nate the Hate isn't out here doing journalist stuff. Like he could have debunked this. Like he tried telling me it was wrong the whole time, but then didn't provide the evidence that it was wrong or tell me what the red flags were. In fact, right now they're still talking about red flags and not explaining what it is. So I don't know how they expect coverage to get better when you have knowledge that others don't, and yet you're not willing to share that knowledge or show how you can find this stuff in the future. I feel like education's important, and being able to educate people who are covering would be beneficial for everyone, but that's neither here nor there. As we dive in here, I said I'm tempted to start a YouTube channel just because most of these people don't care what's true or what's even plausible, which is absolutely not true. We absolutely do care. Anyways, DirectView Game says the core rests with the outlets and creators. They report the findings of others. They feel the fault flies with the original source, which yes, it does in some cases. That doesn't excuse you though from doing your own research. They can pass the blame on them. I think for rumors, that's possible. I think for actual reporting, independent research matters. I mean, you can do independent research on rumors too, but a lot of us don't have sources, right? So, like, how am I supposed to independently verify something Nate the Hate says? Yeah, it's pretty impossible because unless you have direct contacts, right? Anyways, in reality, they should do their own due diligence and verify the original claim, especially when it's a LinkedIn, which again, I went to the LinkedIn and I'm not sure what the red flags were supposed to be. Anyways, well, Doc Trey should have looked closer at the site. Maybe he did and he knew it was BS, but published the video anyways. But everyone who repeated it is just as incompetent or unconcerned with accuracy as he was, which, look, I'm not unconcerned with accuracy. In fact, I try my best to the best of my capabilities and my knowledge to look into these things. Maybe I'm incompetent. I guess that's an opinion. I'd like to think I'm not, but mistakes can be made. I am only human and I can only learn, right? I think all of us can only learn to do better. But as we get back into this post, it said, because what is the point of a bunch of YouTubers or websites that will blindly repost info without checking the source, which I did. I even linked and showed the sources in my video. I didn't link to Doc Trey. That's the thing. Like, I did my own research. It's just, I only know what I know. I can't spot every red flag in the world. I'm not an expert in everything. Probably not an expert in anything, really. I'm just a gamer. So it would just be nice if people that could recognize this stuff actually came forward and would educate people, because I am ignorant in many situations out there. So it's just weird to me, this conversation that we don't care when we absolutely do. We just don't have the same knowledge. So share the knowledge, right? Share the wealth, teach people, educate them. I went to school and did some journalist classes. I did everything the school taught me. I don't know how I'm still supposed to see those red flags because it requires direct knowledge on the given area, expertise that I don't have. All right, getting back to this. None are journalists. This is fair. I'm not a journalist. And few care about accuracy of the report. This is untrue. I do care about accuracy. They see something gain traction. They repeat it. I didn't really even see it gain traction. It was like one Doc Trey video, which, you know, he's not like a huge YouTuber. So it wasn't like it was gaining a bunch of traction when I decided to make a video on it. I looked into it myself and I thought it was interesting. That's why I made a video. Add a touch of speculation. Sure. Yeah, that's what talking heads do. To add some value to their video and then let it accumulate views. I mean, my video didn't get that many views. I'm not that big of a YouTuber, and it didn't blow up for like 30, 40,000 views. It wasn't that big of a video for me. It was the same viewership I get on anything I make. Anyways, Lynxbyte had plenty of red flags and should have been ignored. Again, red flags are people who have direct knowledge. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, how am I supposed to know this stuff, you know, without being taught? Anyways, someone should really fix that. The video game community deserves a real journalist or real jurlist. Well, whatever, misspell. Same as every other thing worth reporting, publishing, posting about. It'll never happen as long as influencer types control the industry. I don't feel like we control the industry. I feel like there's this disconnect. So people hate on content creators like me for sharing information, posting information, all this stuff, talking about rumors and reports. But then they just show an unwillingness to educate, an unwillingness to point out where the flaws were. You know, I showed that Nate the Hate mentioned, that, hey, this is fake. Granted, Nate the Hate is someone who hides behind an alias online, and nobody besides his closest confidants probably even know who the hell he is. And so he's just a random person to most people, including myself. I don't know him. I trust him because he seems to have sources, and I do think he's probably right about things, but in the end, he's still just a random person because he doesn't put himself behind his work, probably because it's protecting his in real life job and whatever, right? He wants a separation of the internet and himself, and I can respect that. But also, calling people out because you know something they don't, and then not educating those people on the red flags, like point out what the red flags are even, because it's so obvious to you, it's not obvious to other people who don't have the same knowledge you do. And that's where I think that it gets really, basically, here's what's happening. People, I don't want to say Nate the Hate himself. I don't know what he thinks on this, but I think people that have that mentality pretty much just wish content creators like me didn't exist. They think that we are worthless. They think that we add nothing to the conversation, and that we are spreading a whole bunch of misinformation intentionally for views. And while maybe that's true of some content creators, I don't know their mentality. That's not my mentality. I'm actually trying to research these things, but my research only works as well as my knowledge on the topic works. I don't know what the red flags were on LinkedIn, and expecting everyone to look at it and it's so obvious to you that it's supposed to be obvious to others who don't have your knowledge, I think is just disingenuous. It's almost like, call me an idiot and call me ignorant. It's fine. I'm completely ignorant on being able to check this stuff. But then educate me on where I'm ignorant. It's like going to school and not, you're in a math class and you get dropped into calculus, but yet you didn't take geometry, you didn't take algebra, and you're dropped in the middle of the class and thrown a test right away. And then you fail the test. And then the teacher yells at you for being a bad student. And yet no one ever taught you what you were supposed to know for the test. Same is true here. If the knowledge needed to debunk 100% that this is a fake company spreading fake information comes from within the industry, but the industry doesn't want to share that knowledge with outsiders, then it ends up just being a clusterfuck, and we get yelled at for things that we don't know about or can't possibly know about because they're unwilling to actually point out. They can sit there and say, this is wrong, and then they just expect you to blindly trust them, instead of actually pointing out where it's wrong and why it's wrong and what are the red flags. That's what I have an issue with. And again, this isn't with Nate the Hate in particular, but it's just with this in general. I've seen a lot of backlash against content creators over coverage like this. And we're excited about the Direct, and that's the crux of this video. And that's what we're excited about the Nintendo Direct, and that is what really matters right now. But I got to just admit that it's a little frustrating. I know that we make mistakes as content creators. I know that we don't want to make mistakes. I know we don't want misinformation to spread. Like, rumors are rumors, that's one thing, but stuff like this, we don't want misinformation to spread, but we can only report on what we're knowledgeable on. And when this story wasn't just picked up by us, it was picked up by other journalistic outlets that have real journalists, I'm not sure what more we're supposed to do. We have to trust what's available, and what's available is our own knowledge, our own research, and then the research of others that seem to be running with the story as well. If you think there should be a greater responsibility, then do something about it. Educate people. If you're someone who knows and can tell, educate, reach out, show us how we can see this stuff in the future so we can stop making those mistakes instead of just saying, you should just know already. You did your own research, it's obvious. I did my own research. It wasn't obvious. So I do apologize for that story in that video, of course. I'll probably go take it down in hindsight now, because what's the point of it staying up? I hate taking videos down, by the way. It makes people feel like I'm hiding from stories when I'm not. I literally did it. Like 11,000 people saw it. It's not really getting views anymore, but whatever. I'll take it down. It's fine. I just, like people probably want me to take down the video yesterday. We still don't know what those demo kiosks are for. They're probably for Street Fighter, but maybe they're out for Resident Evil Requiem. So it's a rumor. We're going to keep that video because it's a rumor and we don't know the facts of it yet. But I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying my best here. All right. And if my best isn't good enough for you, I don't know what else you want. We'll be live streaming the Kirby Direct tomorrow. We'll be live streaming Opening Night Live tomorrow. I'll have another live stream tomorrow night. We have the podcast this week. We got a lot going on, and I'm sorry that I'm not perfect. And I'm sorry that I don't know everything. Kind of a somber end to this video. We started hyped. Now we're ending kind of sad, but I want to be transparent with you guys. I've always been transparent with my audience. I'm going to continue to be transparent. I'm not a journalist. I am an independent gamer who does independent research, but because I don't have the experience in all these different fields, I can only go so far, right? I'm sorry. Catch you guys later.